What day is today? As of the writing of the script, it is Thursday, the 14th of Shaban, 1445, Anno Hejrai. Hold on, my bad. It's actually 13 0 11 6 3 5 Akbal 11 Kayab. Still confused? Alright, it's really the 12th of February 2024 on the Julian calendar. Calendars tell us what the exact day is, but as you've now realized, there are many different types of calendars. Unless you're Muslim, Mayan, or Eastern Orthodox, you're still trying to find out what the exact day I wrote this script was. You're trying to make sense of time. You're engaging in an element of what historians call chronological reasoning, which happens to be the first concept we'll learn about in our quest to unlock historical thinking. How we make sense of time matters, not just because it helps us organize events in the world around us, but also because the framework we choose to organize these events in will tell us a lot about how we view the world. Take Anno Hejrai, for instance. In Latin, it means Year of the Hijra. The Hijra was a pilgrimage that the Prophet Muhammad took from Mecca to Medina. Thus, we can derive that the Islamic calendar's framework places enormous value on the Prophet Muhammad and the Hijra in particular. If you've heard of AD and BC, you're probably aware that they respectively stand for Anno Domini, or Year of Our Lord in Latin, and Before Christ. These markers of time stood for centuries before being challenged in the 18th century by scholars who preferred the more secular CE and BCE, standing for Common Era and Before Common Era. The origins of this debate are representative of how important notating time can be and what it means for our study of history. Johannes Kepler first used the term vulgaris aere as an alternative to Anno Domini in a book he wrote in 1615, which was translated to Common Era by English scholars in the early 1700s. This term was popular with academics since then, with CE and its partner acronym BCE still actively being promoted by those who strive for historical neutrality and accuracy. On the other hand, there are those who passionately defend the use of AD and BC, stating that the use of CE and BCE are an attempt to write Jesus Christ out of history. Plus, the Gregorian calendar, the one most of the Western world uses, has Christian origins anyway. So what sense would it make to change one designation of time, but not the other? Time acts as a grand metronome to history, and understanding how it's measured and what that means for historical thinking in its entirety is important. But what about us? Why does it matter for us to track our days? History will tell us that the ancients tracked their days by tracking the heavens, the enormous bodies of planets, superheated stars, the brilliant blaze of the sun, the gentle glow of the moon, and all its phases. They did this for practical reasons like harvest times and season changes. They needed to survive, and without a way to track time, they would be unprepared in the face of the unpredictable and wild forces of nature. But leaving it at this would do our ancient ancestors an injustice. After all, they were just as human as we are. What's true across every civilization, ancient, modern, and in between, is the celebration of festivals. These festivals often correlated with the cosmic calendars they tracked their lives on. They often fell on solstices, days that marked the official start of the ever-changing seasons. They served as needed respites from the brutal throes of warfare, or the high-stakes stress and back-breaking work of farming. But as we track time beyond the eras that are divided up into periods by the academics, we witness these festivals change in meaning. Christmas is one of these festivals, and there are three possible origins to its specific date. One denotes that the ancient Romans at this time, still worshipping their pagan deities, marked December 25th as the celebration for Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. It also coincidentally fell after the celebration of Saturnalia, a holiday in which people feasted and exchanged gifts. Another origin points to a pagan Indo-European god called Mithra, a deity that was beloved by Roman soldiers. The final theory marks March 25th, Gregorian time, as the miraculous conception of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and that 9 months from then, December 25th, would mark his natural birth. These three theories concerning the start of Christmas celebrations, much like the acronym debate mentioned earlier, have varied in major implications depending on which one is adopted. Imagine the date of Christmas being proven to have pagan roots, or the entire precipice of human history hinging on a carpenter from Nazareth. I won't cast my hat on either side of either debate because, as we will learn, historians must separate personal preference from their search for the truth. While we must understand the nature of these debates, past and present, and the emotion that surrounds them, history pays no heed to feelings, and the kind that does is often inaccurate at best or misleading at worst. Yet, it can still be quite challenging to separate feeling from fact in historical thinking because, as we will discover, many of these historical thinking concepts and skills are deeply rooted in our own emotional experiences. Chronological reasoning is no exception, inevitably prying deep into our own understanding of the world simply because time is universal and, love it or hate it, it's our constant companion. How we measure time beyond its calendars, acronyms, and changing definitions is intensely unique and emotional. No matter what the passing eras used to calculate time, humans have been its constant participants. Humans, be they ancient or modern like you and me, are emotional beings. We look at all 12 months of the Gregorian calendar, or 18 months of the Mayan calendar, or 13 months of the Coptic calendar, and we find 1 month, or week, or day, and point to that one as something special to us. The unit of measurement isn't as important as the moments and memories we have made while measuring it. And that brings me to what day it is that I wrote this script. Today is February 25th, 2024. It was also my late uncle's birthday. He passed away sometime in mid-June of 2022. I'm not entirely sure when, to be honest. Barely a month had passed since I'd last seen him at my wedding on that late May afternoon. All I can remember is my mother's wails as she told me, my dad's heartbroken face in the months after, and the feeling of my uncle's grave when I finally could see it in a New Orleans cemetery in late May 2023, buried alongside my grandmother, my great grandmother, and other relatives whose timelines came and went, but whose impacts were felt upon me and my entire family, and to whom I am gratefully indebted. To a certain extent, we are all indebted to those who came before us. But we also may be resentful, bitter, proud, or pained at their legacies. But we can never fully grapple with their effects on our lives until we can make sense of time itself. Luckily for us, history acts as the perfect platform for this, and historical thinking is designed for us to unlock this potential. Understanding time and how it is measured, why it is measured the way it is, and where those measurements originated from can shed light on what mattered to those who lived in the eras we subdivide. From here, we can discover how the legacies they left and the impacts they had upon the world changed over time and inspired their descendants to shape their own destinies. Because tracking history is as natural as tracking time, or tracking the cosmos, and the fruits of its study can yield to us a universe as broad as time itself and as specific as our own personal dates on our timelines. This is Bunk Study.